The Detroit Lions have made major improvements to the linebacker core this offseason with bringing in coaches, players, everything. The question is, what does Jarrad Davis' future look like for the Detroit Lions? Let's get it started. So Jarrad Davis was a player that we drafted back in 2017 out of Florida. Now, he was known as a run stopper in Florida. That was his job. That's all he did. He was a run stopper. He rarely dropped back into coverage, if ever, because he was a run stopper. That's what he did at Florida. So that's not something that, he necessarily had under his belt in college. And he was a first-round pick by the Detroit Lions, but the difference is he was selected by Jim Caldwell, or Jim Caldwell was the coach, which is a completely different system. So Jim Caldwell was there. They brought in Jarrad Davis as their run stopper. And in 2017, he had arguably his best season of his career, where he came up with 96 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits, 3 passes defended, and an interception. An interception that he hasn't had since the 2017 season. And when you look at PFF grades, it was his best graded out season of his career as a Detroit Lion. But ever since Matt Patricia has come in to coach for the Detroit Lions, he's struggled. He's definitely struggled. And now they have declined his 5th-year option, which honestly makes sense. It makes sense to decline that option because Jarrad Davis hasn't lived up to $10+ million in a year. I mean, he really hasn't. It's really hard for any linebacker to do that, but he has not for sure. So the question is, what does his future look like with the Detroit Lions? Is this his last year and then he's gone? It could definitely be the case. But really, I wanted to look into more stats for Jarrad Davis. I really wanted to watch him a little bit more, see how bad he was, and see how much he really needs to improve. Now, obviously, he already has something going against him, which is not being drafted into the scheme. And the Lions really made upgrades at the linebacker group with additions of Jamie Collins, having Jelani Tavai, who they drafted recently, bringing in Elijah Lee, bringing in a new linebacker coach, which should help him at some point. I think Jamie Collins will as well. Reggie Ragland. So they brought in other linebackers to compete, and he said he's open to that. And Jarrad Davis talked to the media about what he believes he needs to improve upon in 2020. And he said this. He says, I need to continue to improve and get better in the run game, which I'm assuming he's talking about his missed tackles, because that's something that's been a little bit of a problem, but I don't think it's been super, super bad where it can't compare to how other linebackers have performed that are on the Detroit Lions. So I guess that's something. And he's also not super aware. I see a lot of breakdowns when it comes to the linebacker. I think he got way more comfortable last season. Even though his missed tackle percentage wasn't good, he got way more comfortable, and he just seemed to fit in. And every time he's been here under Matt Patricia, he's gotten more and more comfortable game in and game out. So hopefully in 2020, he's ready to go. And then he also said he believes he has the talent to be a good coverage linebacker. He just hasn't been able to show it yet. And obviously he knows that's probably the biggest downfall of his game right now is that coverage ability. And again, I kind of feel for him because it's tough. You're drafted into a different system. It's really hard to translate to a different system when that's not something you're used to. He was not used to really ever dropping back into coverage. And all of a sudden in 2018, we bring in Matt Patricia, and he's like, yep, you're going to have to drop back into coverage for us. And he struggled with it. He's really struggled to translate to that role for the Detroit Lions. But what did we do this offseason? Well, we all knew we needed someone to help coverage at the linebacker position. And a lot of teams are utilizing, safeties to do that because a lot of times linebackers are just at a disadvantage when it comes to covering running backs or tight ends. Usually the only linebackers that you can see that can really hold their own, there's a very few. Isaiah Simmons looks like a guy out of Clemson that may be able to do that. We know Corey Littleton, a guy in the NFL who seems he can do that. Maybe Joe Schobert a little bit. But it's really hard to find guys that can hold their own at coverage at a linebacker spot consistently. Usually they allow somewhere around 60 to 70% completion percentage. It just happens. And usually they have a pretty high missed tackle percentage because you're going against some of the best running backs and some really quick guys. So, I mean, the numbers are kind of inflated. I think they look a lot worse than what necessarily you would expect. But if you compare him to Jamie Collins' stats, I think it puts it into context very well because Jamie Collins was just given a 3-year, $30 million deal, which is obviously a huge deal, basically what Jarrad Davis' 5th-year option was declined for. And when you put the numbers into context, you can kind of see that, hey, you know what, this is just what happens. Linebackers, can struggle with all of this stuff because they're just usually at a disadvantage. And that's why teams start using safeties and these hybrid safety linebackers to help in coverage downs. But when you look at Jamie Collins, who is known to be kind of our best coverage linebacker now, who should hopefully fix that. In 2018, he was with the Cleveland Browns. And with the Cleveland Browns, he has never done really well in that system. And I really do think systems are huge in the NFL because he hasn't done well with Cleveland, right? He has not done well. He went to New England and he's played a lot better when he's been with New England. And I think that's why the hype is that he could be really good with the Lions because we run such a similar defense. And that's kind of why he signed this deal. But with Cleveland in 2018, he allowed a 74.7% completion percentage, a 96.7 pass rating, 2 touchdowns, and he had a 14.8 missed tackle percentage, which was 18 missed tackles, okay? Now, that doesn't sound very good. And if you look at Jarrad Davis in 2018, which again was with Matt Patricia, In his first year of Matt Patricia, I should point out, he allowed a 15.3 missed tackle percentage, which was just a little bit worse than what Jamie Collins allowed. He allowed a lower completion percentage at 69.2% and a lower pass rating at 95 and the same amount of touchdowns. So really, doesn't look that bad. However, the difference is this: everything was flipped around when Jamie Collins went to New England. And this is something that he is more comfortable with. And at New England last season in 2019, he allowed a 72.7% completion percentage, which is obviously still not good. But again, it's something that you just see consistently with linebackers. A 46 pass rating, which is obviously great, and he didn't allow a single touchdown. However, he still did have a 12.9% missed tackle percentage and 12 missed tackles on the season. If you compare that to Jarrad Davis's stats last season, 13.7% missed tackle percentage, which is just a little bit higher, about 0.8% higher than what Jamie Collins had. A 78.4% completion percentage allowed. 78.4. That's not very good. About 6% higher than what Jamie Collins allowed. And 116 pass rating, which is obviously not very good. And he allowed 1 touchdown. So it's not too far away. Like, they're not so far apart where it's like, whoa, I mean, he's just levels ahead of him, and that's why he got this huge contract. I think, they're definitely somewhat comparable, but it's obvious that, Jamie Collins is just a better coverage guy, and that's why we brought him in. Even if you look at Jelani Tavai, for example, who was here last season, I have his numbers over here, that's why I'm holding it up, but he allowed a 69.6% completion percentage, a 78.4 pass rating, and he had a 12% missed tackle percentage. It's something that you see consistently with linebackers, and the Lions have tried to improve that recently, and they got a lot of young guys. One thing with Jarrad Davis, not only is he not in the right system or, where he's necessarily drafted into the same system, but at the same time, he's really never had a mentor, and I think that's what he's getting with Jamie Collins. So not only are the Lions getting possibly an improvement at that linebacker position when it comes to coverage and blitzing and pretty much all around as a linebacker, they are also getting a guy that can help mentor both Jelani Tavai and Jarrad Davis, which is something that Jarrad Davis absolutely needs. Now, the question is, will Jarrad Davis get an opportunity to come back after 2019 season? I think it could, 2020 season, it could absolutely be a possibility, especially if it improves this season. I can see them trying to renegotiate another contract just a lot cheaper if he plays well this season, but we definitely need to see a big improvement this year. And I think it really, to me, it comes in that awareness and in the coverage game. I think if he can improve in the coverage game just a little bit and maybe get that missed tackle percentage down a little bit, I honestly could see the Detroit Lions trying to renegotiate again with him. This guy has a high motor. He's really fast. He just flies around. And I really, trust that Jarrad Davis can figure this out. I bet he's putting the work in. Jarrad Davis to me just seems like a guy that's always putting that work in. Like he's not slacking. I'm not saying other people are, but I just don't see him, man. I just see him out there grinding. I feel like he's already working and stuff. And it's kind of bad. I feel bad for him sometimes when you watch him because you can tell he's just not fit. He's just not prepared for the system that Matt Patricia hasn't placed in. When they drop in the zone, this dude just looks completely lost at times. Like he's just not even running the right way. Like it's like, oh man, that's tough. So he definitely has room to grow, but I hopefully with the addition of Tyrone McKenzie, who is known to improve his linebackers when he was with the Tennessee Titans, our new linebacker coach, and hopefully with a mentor in Jamie Collins, he can help Jarrad Davis out and hopefully improve his game to the point where he could be a future Detroit Lion, and this is not his last season with Detroit Lions. So we're rooting for you, Jarrad Davis. I don't think you're too far off. You definitely have some places you need to improve, and hopefully you can because we would love to see you back, but you need to improve, my guy. So go do your thing. I need you guys to comment below this right now. I have a question for you guys. So basically, I'm thinking of doing a series, all right, where I look at other teams, maybe just all the teams that we played this season, and I break down what they did in the offseason. So we've done prediction videos, and I can continue to do those because that's nearly the same thing. But if you guys just want simply a breakdown of the other teams, I can do that. I can look at the offseason, look at what they brought in, look at what they moved on from, look at who they drafted. I could even grade those within the video. That would be kind of interesting too. So grade them while I talk about what they brought in, look at what they look like positionally, compare their positions to ours. It's kind of similar to what we did in the prediction videos, but if you guys want to see that continue, definitely let me know in the comments below. Like I told someone, they asked me, where's my prediction video for my week 3? Well, I do everything off of support. So, I try to base on what most people want to see because that's how it should be, right? I want to get more people involved. I don't want to just put out videos that necessarily no one wants to see. I want to put out videos that you guys want to see because that means that you guys enjoy them. So that's kind of the goal here, and that's what I try to stick to. So every time I see something, do well, I go to that. And if it starts to do well, or if it really starts to decline or really just completely falls off, it's one of the worst, series we have, I'll probably stop it or I'll take a break and maybe I'll come back later to it, and maybe we'll come back later. Maybe we need to wait to do the prediction series until we're closer to the season. That's fine. But I just want to give you guys that little info because I've had a lot of people ask me about certain series. That's how I do it, man. I do it based on support. So if you want to see a series come back, if you want to see certain types of videos come back, make sure you like it, make sure you share, make sure you tell other people to like it because that's how I do it. And I just think that's fair. I think it's fair to go with what you guys want to see because you guys always know what you guys want to see. You guys click on what you want to see. So I want to keep bringing those to you. That way, you guys actually want to see the videos. I'm finally done, man. I just finished, man. I just finished my last assignment. So Well, my last major one. I have some like weird kind of football packet, but I finished my last major one, so woo, we done. And DoseOfDion Gaming is gonna be kicking off now because of that. We're gonna be doing more and more live streams, so make sure you guys go check out DoseOfDion Gaming live streams. Will be off the chains, man. We're gonna continue to do those with subscribers. Yes, with subscribers. So if you guys are in the chat, you guys can send me, you know, your name or your friend or whatever your name is, and I can add you and we'll play. So yeah, definitely go check out DoseOfDion Gaming. Link is in the description. Thank you, Prep, for watching, and I'm out.